All right, today we're going to dive into the hidden story of a company you've probably, no, definitely never heard of. But here's the crazy part. Their impact, you feel it every single day.
So what if I told you that a huge number of the pioneers in today's biggest industries, they all came from the same place? A kind of secret origin story. A common starting point that's just vanished from the history books. Sounds like a movie plot, right? Well, it's not.
This is the very real story of a company called Progeon. You won't remember the name, but believe me, its influence is absolutely everywhere.
So let's kick things off with a legacy, because this is the core of the story, right? The brand itself might have faded away, but its people, its people went on to pretty much change the world.
So where did all these talented people end up? Well, everywhere. The alumni from Progeon fanned out and took over the highest levels of IT, global consulting, you name it. We're talking corporate leadership roles, founders of major startups, VCs, even professors at top universities. This wasn't just people leaving a company. It was like this incredible injection of pure talent into the global economy.
Okay, so the big question is, how? How did one single company produce so much top-tier talent? To get that answer, we've got to rewind the clock. Let's go all the way back to its founding, right as the BPO revolution was kicking off.
So, what exactly was Progeon? Put simply, it was the original name for the BPO, or Business Process Outsourcing arm of the tech giant Infosys. And back then, this was a wild idea. The plan was to build a global powerhouse just by handling all the complex, behind-the-scenes work for the world's biggest corporations.
So the company kicks off in April 2002, and they had this one incredibly ambitious mission: to become the absolute masters of business process management and dominate this brand new, explosive market of global outsourcing.
Now, this is super important. This wasn't just an Infosys side project. Not at all. It was a joint venture with Citibank Investments, who owned a solid 26%. And that partnership, it gave them two huge things: a ton of cash, and, maybe even more importantly, instant credibility on the global stage. Right out of the gate, they were a serious player.
And all that backing just lit a fire under the company. It fueled this period of just insane growth. Progeon basically became a crucible, a real proving ground that forged an entire generation of future leaders.
And we're not just talking about local growth either. By 2006, get this, just 4 years in, Progeon opened its first international office, all the way over in the Czech Republic. This was a huge deal. It wasn't just another pin on the map, it was proof that their whole global model actually worked on a massive scale. And if you want some perspective on that growth, in those same 4 years, the company exploded to over 10,000 employees. Can you imagine trying to manage that kind of hypergrowth? It created this incredibly intense, high-pressure environment for absolutely everyone.
But see, in an environment like that, you're not just clocking in and out. The employees were basically getting a real-time masterclass in the future of global business. They were learning how to manage complex processes, how to service clients all over the world, how to scale massive operations. These weren't just resume bullet points. They were literal career launchpads.
And yeah, from everything we can tell, it was a demanding place to work. If you look at employee reviews from back then, they all tell the same story. The culture was strong, the learning was off the charts, but your work-life balance, yeah, that took a hit. It was a trade-off, for sure. But for a lot of people, that high-intensity experience was totally worth it.
Which of course brings us back to the central mystery of this whole story. If Progeon was such a massive success, why did the name just disappear? Well, the answer is all in a big corporate change-up.
So, in 2006, the very same year they went international, the joint venture with Citibank came to an end. Infosys bought out Citibank's entire stake, and just like that, they had full ownership. And that changed everything.
Now that they were in complete control, Infosys moved to bring everything under one brand. So Progeon was first renamed Infosys BPO in 2006. Then, more than a decade later, it changed again to Infosys BPM. And with each name change, that original Progeon name just faded a little more into the background.
Okay, so the brand is gone. We get that. But what about the people? This is what it all comes back to, right? This is the final, and honestly, the most important piece of the puzzle. Why those pioneers from Progeon still matter so much today.
You can really break down their legacy into 3 big parts. First, they were the pioneers. These were the folks who helped build the entire foundation for India's credibility in the global outsourcing world. Second, they became mentors, passing on all that hard-won knowledge to the next generation. And third, you can see their direct influence today in the powerful leadership roles they have all across the business world.
Now, obviously, keeping this kind of legacy alive isn't easy. When the company became Infosys BPO, a lot of the alumni probably stopped even thinking about their Progeon roots. Plus, the BPO industry has always had high turnover, so all that amazing talent got scattered to the winds, which makes it really hard to keep any kind of collective identity going.
And that really gives us the ultimate contrast, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got the brand. It got renamed, absorbed, and pretty much forgotten. But on the other hand, you have the people. And they went on to become the leaders, the innovators, and the mentors who are still shaping our world today.
So it all leaves us with this one big question, and I think it's a really important one. How much of a company's true legacy is in its brand, its name, its logo, and how much of it lives on in the people it creates and sends out into the world? It's definitely something to think about.